Hi everyone, I'm Joe from Cobry. Today I'm going to be talking to Ben Crow from Asana. So I wonder if you'd maybe be able to provide me with a little introduction to yourself.
I'm Ben Crow. I lead our partner program here in EMEA for Asana, and Asana is a work management application which we'll talk about in a bit more detail.
Yeah, maybe I suppose the best place to start, as you say, is introduce us a bit to Asana if you could.
Asana is a tool that helps teams and organizations manage their work and helps them coordinate their work better. So, for example, a lot of companies will have an ERP system like an Oracle or an SAP or a Sage or an Intuit or a QuickBooks, and that manages all their finances. Then they'll have a CRM system, which is managing all their customer contact and forecasting and things like that. But when it comes to actual work, they use a multiple of applications to really figure out who's doing what by when, who's responsible for what, when things are due by, and actually what the teams or the company is focusing on. Asana kind of reduces the need for all of those multiple apps and gives you one work management application.
So can you think of any sort of specific problems maybe that come to mind that Asana can help solve for companies?
So a good example of a use case would be a marketing team. And we've got some brilliant examples of marketing teams using Asana. So let's just say we've got a marketing team who is working for a company who are an online clothing company. And that marketing team is responsible for effectively driving more traffic to the website to generate more sales. So how do they do that? So they need to put some campaigns together to perhaps promote the site. They need to maybe put some effort into developing the ease of use of the site. They might do some different advertising. They might do some design, all these different little projects and things that are being spun up and things they're agreeing on. How do they coordinate that? So previously there would have been chasing between spreadsheets and emails and meetings and stuff to figure out who's doing what and by when and reporting that out. With Asana, you can actually do that in Asana. You can create a project for your brand campaign, a project for your marketing development, a project for your advertising. All that can live in portfolios of projects. So you can report who's doing what. Within those projects, you then have tasks, and those tasks can be assigned to people. And then you can chase up with comments and appreciations and likes when things get done. So as a manager, you can actually see an overall view of what's happening with your work and the progress of those tasks and projects and portfolios. And actually, as a business leader, you can look at the overall goal of your business to say, we set a goal to increase traffic to our site by 25% this year. Did we get there? What's all the work that made that happen? That's what Asana is. It's really a work management platform that gives you a lot more than just task and project management. It gives you the ability to really look at your holistically.
Personally at Cobry, obviously we use Asana, and one of the things I always find is that it is so much easier to organise your day and feel like you're on top of what you're doing if you actually engage with Asana.
I always tell a lot of people I don't use email anymore, and they kind of go, what do you mean you don't use email? And it's like, well, email's not actionable. I can't go into an email and figure out who's owning what and by when and what the next step is, and I can't just give a little comment to see, hey, could you lean in here? Email is very reactive, and it's very kind of ping, ping, ping. And if you think about it now, it's almost like sending a pigeon out of the sky, because you send a message, you sit back and you wait for something to happen.
Yeah.
With Asana, it's much more interactive and much more live and real, whether you're using the phone app or the online app. So I live in Asana. Like, I'm not jumping in and out of multiple apps to figure out what's going on. Those apps kind of feed Asana, and Asana is my really where everything happens, and if it's not in there, it doesn't happen, basically.
Because I even find with our internal use of Asana, a lot of the time it will be, maybe I'm in Google Chat, but I have the Asana bot set up. So I'll get my notification there, and as soon as I get that, I'm straight back into Asana to start completing tasks again. Like it is great. And I suppose that's one of the other things about Asana is how sort of customizable it is. Like, depending on how your organisation works, it can mold around how you operate.
Yeah, exactly. So I like you mentioned that, because we see customers do some really cool stuff with it. On the basis, it's very straightforward, very easy to use. But if you want to get really clever, we've just launched a new reporting called Universal Reporting, which is great. And you can build your own dashboards and see what's happening across your work. But we have these custom fields as well. So actually anybody can be a developer, and you don't really need any skills. If you want to have specific tags or fields or drop downs or dates or information or numbers or values against a particular task or within a project, and then view within your project that in a list format or a grid format or a date format or even a workload to see who's doing what by when, all that's really customizable just with a couple of buttons. So you can design it the way you want to work it depending on your own business need, but it's not difficult.
Certainly noticed that even with setting up workflows for organisations of different types by using templates as well. Like you really can just make it work for an organisation of any industry really.
If you're starting with Asana, when you first log in and create an account, it then says to you, do you want to create a project, which effectively is just a group of work that you're putting into one space, and you can have multiple projects, and then projects can belong to teams and groups and portfolios of projects. And the structure is pretty straightforward when you look at it. But these templates make it so easy. So it's like, okay, are you doing a marketing project? Are you doing a HR team? Are you an IT type thing? And it'll give you all these examples of project templates. And then you can even have task templates. So for example, if you want to send someone a task in the legal team or the finance team that basically says, I need you to look at this for me, you can have predefined fields and predefined custom drop downs, and even automations that say, if I select this on the task, or if this happens by that date, automatically route it here or automatically do that, just to kind of keep that flow going, which is awesome. So my to-do list or my tasks automatically juggles around depending on the day of the week. So things just filter to the top without me having to change it around. It's wonderful, yeah.
So what would you say is unique about Asana? Maybe something that differentiates it between other solutions?
What's really unique about Asana is something called multi-homing. And that's a bit of a techie term, but what it really means is that you could have your own projects that you're running in your team. I can have my projects in my team. The legal team can be running in their work. But I can create a task and I can copy in the legal team and actually add it to their project as well as mine. So you can have one task living in multiple projects so people can share and it can really collaborate and coordinate really well. And that's quite unique to the way that our data model works, because our data model isn't structured. It's really flexible, meaning that actually more people can share and jump into stuff and make it more visible.
So do you have any success stories of people using Asana?
So we've got quite an interesting mission at Asana. We have a really unique culture. It's a really special place to work, but actually our business leaders and the teams really care about our customers and how we can help reduce that workload. One of our customers is a brilliant example. Since adopting Asana, they've seen so much productivity increase and so much a reduction in people doing all this work about work. They've now gone down to a 4-day week, which is quite a bold statement. They're still paying everyone the same, but they find that they can do a lot more in 4 days. But their staff retention, the vibe about the place, the productivity has gone through the roof because they've adopted everything through Asana. And a 4-day week, I mean, that's just incredible.
So do you have anything else you'd like to add just before we wrap things up?
I guess the big takeaway from me is just to remind people what work management is. So, it is all about moving away from those multiple apps to get stuff done. And you've got this amazing tool to manage your finance system. You've got this amazing tool to manage your CRM and your customers and forecasting if you do that. But actually, you don't have anything to manage everything else that happens in your business. And especially with this remote work or hybrid work or office-based work, because every company is going to be a bit different about how they approach going back to the office. How do you coordinate? How do you bring all that together to make people be able to work seamlessly together? So that's what work management is about. That's what Asana is about. And we'd love to help people get on board.
Well, there we have it, folks. If that interview's left you yearning for more knowledge about Asana or wanting to get started, then head over to our website, cobry.co.uk.